Hi, welcome to Automation Fair. We are about to hear perspectives. It's starting with Blake Moret, our CEO and chairman of the board, and he's going to kick it off with a look at what's going on in the world of manufacturing, as well as what type of technology we can apply to help kick us into the future. After Blake, there will be a few other speakers from Accenture, Microsoft, and McKinsey and Company. So if you want to see those, check the description of this post. There's a link you can click on to jump over and see those live streams. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Blake.
Please welcome Rockwell Automation's Chairman and CEO, Blake Moret.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I want to, before I start, just take a moment with you to take a little bit of a pause and maybe satisfaction for being together in 3D after quite a long time. The last time that we were here was in 2019, and it was the biggest show that Rockwell had ever had. It was a new high water mark. We were going on offense. We were looking at, all the things that we had wanted to do, but hadn't gotten started. We were going to start investing a little bit more, and so on. And then the world changed, and it didn't just change from a professional standpoint, it changed from a personal standpoint as well. And while the initial shocks of that time in 2020 have changed a bit, we are all changed forever in the way that we live and that we work. From a professional standpoint, I think of the customers that we've worked with. One in particular, a large food company that at that time was focused on line extensions. They were providing us direction in terms of how we could help them with business continuity, primarily centered around cybersecurity. And they, of course, were interested in driving productivity. That was really the heart of what Rockwell is known for providing. But with the pandemic, everything changed overnight. To start with, this company had to change who they were selling to. They were originally selling in bulk to the hospitality industry, and they had to change their whole model to sell to retail because all of us were shopping in grocery stores far more than ever before because going out to restaurants just didn't seem to be the thing to do in the spring of 2020. The line extensions increased in the number and the scale because they were providing a larger number of SKUs to meet different purchasing points because, again, people were buying from the grocery store much more than they ever did, and they were having to budget accordingly. Startups that were already in process were complicated because you couldn't get people from 5 different companies in place, in one place, shoulder to shoulder on a vertical startup. There was still a focus on cybersecurity, and in fact, cybersecurity was even more of an issue because with so many people working at home, there was a far greater attack surface through the firewall than there ever had been. And of course, people were still trying to focus on efficiency and productivity, but now it was complicated because of the labor shortages, because people leaving the workforce, not being able to move around, and so the need to project virtually was more important than ever before. And we were right there. Rockwell was right there in our own operations, as well as answering the calls for help from critical industry across the world, making masks, medicines, vaccines weren't a thing quite yet, packaging food, transportation, energy. It was kind of the hierarchy of needs that became real up close and personal in a big hurry, and we found that we were right in the middle of it. What I was happy about was our ability to adapt the technology, to be able to solve these problems quickly, and it was all hands on deck. And I think we were a little bit surprised at how quickly we could act when we needed to. None of us knew whether it, meaning business, meaning Rockwell, would work with all of us doing whatever it is that we do from home. But we found that whether it was the engineers who needed to continue to develop products, it was sales, making sure that they were on the front lines with our customers, our channel, our administrative organizations, finance, we were able to keep the lights on, as most of you were able to as well. We saw 20 years of evolution in 2 because we had to. It came with costs, and some of those costs we're still recovering from, but it is making us more resilient, more agile, and more sustainable. The things that we have learned to do over the last couple of years are to take our products and our software and our services and combine them together for outcomes focused on industry needs. We've added capabilities, found new ways to win, to be able to play an earlier, more meaningful role in a company's overall digital transformation. I was talking to somebody this morning and remarked that, in Rockwell, with our automation and the ability to generate data from the factory floor, was always a part of digital transformation, but it was well under the radar and late in the process. But with the capabilities that we've added, providing more landing spots for that data as it's created with information solutions, more consulting capability to help customers better define their business problems, we're a much earlier part of this process. And I'll tell you, one of the key things that we can offer is the simplification. Because I do believe, and I'll probably say this again, simplification is going to sort out the winners and the losers in this business over the next 10 years. It's simplification of the technology, simplification of the business models, because when you look at why automation is not growing faster, hasn't traditionally grown faster, it's the risk. You have something that's running, that plant manager is still haunted by the memories of projects gone bad in the past, and intellectually, he or she knows that they could probably get more throughput, get a little bit more insight into the operations, but what about all the interfaces? Because you're typically not starting with a clean sheet of paper. And so that simplification, meeting customers where they are, is going to be so important going forward. And we'll talk more about that today. We're really touching off the insights that are going to fuel the success, customer by customer, industry by industry. And I will claim that there's nobody better positioned to do this. We are a pure play, solely focused, the biggest, by the way, solely focused on industrial automation and digital transformation. We've been doing this for a long time. We focus on a single set of customers and bring all our power and that of the ecosystem that you'll see on display over the next 72 hours to bear on industry problems. Our own transformation journey is something that we're learning from as well. And I will tell you that you'll hear from several of the speakers about beyond just the technology, the change management associated with this as well. And it starts with the why. Why are we doing this? And some of the whys for Rockwell, as we look at our mission, are to simplify complexity that I've talked about, meeting customers where they are, not jamming a one-size-fits-all strategy down someone's throat, but to recognize that for all of us, we have incumbency. We have existing standards. We have existing experiences. We have existing plants, existing infrastructure, and you want to add what you need without ripping out what you don't, what you already have. And it's that industry-focused ingenuity, that innovation, and with a partner ecosystem that's second to none, because nobody can do it all. So with simplification, industrial systems are highly complex. The technology is going to be complex, but by putting the tools and the user experience over the top of that, we can simplify the way humans, and humans are still very much a part of the equation, interact with the system. Recognizing that the technology that's under the hood, so to speak, has to be brought back a step from the frontline workers who have to fix something on third shift when there's really no technicians around. And that's the world that Rockwell grew up in, with a user focus and recognizing how important that ease of doing business is. Technology that's easy to work with and intuitive, and when you need help, a clear path to a company that's solely focused on keeping these sorts of operations running. It's one of the reasons that we had a recent victory, or a recent important win at Barrett Steel, one of the largest steel companies in the UK, providing our Fix computerized maintenance management system. Fix is cloud native so that you don't have the same needs for infrastructure in terms of hardware or IT resources in each of their mills, and it scales quickly. Cloud, for these sorts of applications, democratizes that technology, makes it easily applied and at speed, and that was just what these steel mills needed. Meeting customers where they are on their journey. Everybody's on a journey. I met briefly with a representative of Kraft Heinz, and you're going to hear from Kraft Heinz later. They're not a new customer to Rockwell. They've been buying our electromechanical products and our programmable controllers and our VFDs for a long, long time, back to the days when I was just starting out in sales myself. But they've added some new things as we've added capabilities, remote monitoring, standards, and most recently, looking at Plex, again, a cloud-native smart manufacturing platform that includes MES and even ERP for small and medium-sized businesses to scale to their multiple operations. This is high stakes, and when you think of Rockwell associated with that kind of capability, MES poaching into ERP, that's kind of a new set of muscles for us, but one that's working very well. It's capturing the imagination of people for who we have earned the opportunity to not talk about these new capabilities. Industry-focused ingenuity. It's the technology working along with the expertise. We had a recent win that is public at this point. We can talk about it. New greenfield, where Hyundai's building a new EV plant in Georgia. It's the technology, it's the understanding of these applications. It's the support, and going again back to my days when I was covering that same patch of dirt in Georgia, we had great support then, and we have even better support now. And that counts for a lot when these companies are looking at tight timelines to be able to bring their operations up. It's the support on the ground. It's also the trust in a partner that can help them address supply chain challenges, because we are often on the critical path with the components and the technology that we're providing for these sorts of plants. Let's talk a little bit more, maybe double click if you will, about what it means to be providing that industry-focused ingenuity. We're optimizing production and productivity, and that's really the heart of what Rockwell has always provided. There are many applications in manufacturing that you cannot do purely manually. People are still very much a part of the equation, but you can't make a competitive automobile at scale, at speed, at quality, without a lot of robots in the mix. You can't make 4 billion doses of vaccine without automating the front end as well as the back end packaging, and we'll talk more about that as well. I mentioned that people are part of the mix. It's empowering workers. It's basic training, it's providing the tools, it's providing the support to give these workers superpowers, and artificial intelligence is a big part of that. As you provide these capabilities to enhance workers, that's a really important part of our mission, and you're going to hear more about that. You're going to see more about it on the show floor and through the coming months and years, because that's a big part of our mission. We talk about expanding human possibility. It may seem a little bit funny for an automation company to talk about people, but people, our own and those that we're serving as customers, are at the very center of our strategy and are absolutely on that critical path to success. Managing risk, cybersecurity, safety. You know, ERM was something that you did with your board because you had to. I think in the last few years, the things that were always in those, second or third tiers of risk that never really floated up to the level of funding, broad-based semiconductor shortages requiring tens and tens of millions of dollars of redesign to work around those issues. Cybersecurity expanded to a workforce that was mostly at home, not just occasionally at home. All of those things have kind of flipped where we've had to find the money and the resources to spend and staff the mitigation of these sorts of risks. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Sustainability, another one that I don't think is going to go away anytime soon. I listen to my kids talk about it as the central point on who they want to work for, somebody engaged in sustainability. We've always been involved with this, with the efficiency that we provide to operations, helping manufacturing companies use less water, air, gas, electricity, and steam. But we've expanded what we can do with the software that we've added, being able to provide first the visibility and then the ability to manage, shed loads, balance usage to avoid rate hikes and peaks. And also the work that we're doing with the energy suppliers, helping the fossil fuel companies with their energy transition. And every one of them is now squarely focused on being a part of the energy transition. And with the renewable companies as well, companies like First Solar that are trying to ramp up at scale and at world competitive prices with photovoltaic panels to be able to meet a demand that is growing like nothing they've ever seen before. Participating in the circular economy, and most importantly, operationalizing circularity and recycling in an operation. Think of all those single-use plastic packages and all the consumer companies that are consumer companies and are selling to people like my 25-year-old daughter who cares deeply about sustainability and who she associates with and whether they have a sustainability agenda. You can bet it's important to them. And then accelerating that growth through the digital transformation. Many people believe that digital is the key lever for addressing these sorts of issues, like sustainability and like faster growth, opening up new lines of business, more flexibility. We're building that connectivity and digital infrastructure from the data up. Rockwell rode something that we call the integrated architecture to prosperity and value for customers for over 20 years, probably a quarter of a century. Being able to have easy ways to connect data from the last mile devices, the variable speed drives and the servo controllers, even operator interface, and connect it easily into a programmable control system and then pass certain data up to higher level information management. We're adding what is required nowadays, the ability to exchange data between software applications, which has been done for a long time, but as IT comes down to the plant floor, that becomes an important skill for Rockwell as well. So it's not something brand new. We've been doing this successfully for a very long time, and it remains important, but the opportunity to differentiate broadens that scope, if you will, of the integrated architecture to add data exchange with software applications, a greater recognition of the amount of non-Rockwell third-party data generators and destinations on the plant floor, and bringing that all together again simply in a way that can only be done by a company that really understands where the data comes from and what you're trying to do with it. It's really an incredible pace that we've been on for now almost 3 years. 3 years almost to the week since we were last in Chicago, a little bit less than that if you count from the shutdowns that began in March. I'm proud of the way that we've adjusted. A lot of sleepless nights on the way, but I feel more confident than ever about the path that we're on and the way that we can add that value. We've retained our position as a trusted partner. We've added significant additional capabilities with digital transformation affecting the entire enterprise. And I don't think there's anybody better positioned to bring that IT and OT together, to connect the imaginations of people with the potential of technology, to expand human possibility, and keep it focused all the time on real business results. Now that's the big picture. That's the why. That's what drives us. That's what drives me and drives our company. Now you're going to hear about specific ways that we're doing this, different industries from different perspectives. And to kick things off, I'm proud to introduce Kevin Lakowski. He's Senior Managing Partner with McKinsey right here in Chicago. He knows us well, he knows our space well, and I'm looking forward to hearing his comments. So please welcome Kevin to the stage.